18-year-old Caitlyn Blaze remembers a time not too long ago when being around her horses seemed like a pipe dream.
I couldn't go outside. I didn't have any friends. I was actually really, really lonely.
When Caitlyn was 9 years old, a doctor noticed her spleen was enlarged during a routine checkup.
Never had any illnesses other than the normal illnesses, and then bam!
That set the wheels in motion for a 6-month odyssey to figure out what was going on. Eventually, doctors diagnosed Caitlyn with autoimmune hepatitis and put her on prednisone. This worked for about 10 months. Then Caitlyn developed a rash that turned out to be something much more serious.
And her platelets were way, way low. And they slapped her in the hospital trying to figure out why her platelet count had crashed. And again, really couldn't figure it out, but her spleen was enormous.
It turns out Caitlyn's body was producing too many T cells, and they began attacking her organs.
And that's why the spleen went. That's why the liver was showing inflammation. Then she started getting inflammation in the lungs. All of that, it was just escalating, and nothing was working.
Caitlyn eventually had her spleen removed. She was fine for a few weeks, but then she started getting fevers. Tests also came back showing her liver enzymes, platelets, and other counts were all out of whack. So doctors referred her to the National Institutes of Health, and they told her the best chance of survival was a bone marrow transplant.
It was the last option we had.
Why was that?
Nothing else had been working.
No one in Caitlyn's family matched her bone marrow, so she turned to the National Marrow Donor Program. The registry came up with not one, but 3 potential matches. One in particular seemed perfect.
That was like, oh, fantastic. Thank God. Okay, let's go.
In October 2003, after months of chemotherapy and immune suppressants, Caitlyn got her bone marrow transplant.
A lot of people ask, was the bone marrow transplant painful? Because I think it's some kind of operation where, I don't know, you crack open a bone and put new bone marrow in it. But it was more like a blood transfusion.
They went in through her port, just like a transfusion of any kind. But those little stem cells, those little incredible cells, migrate to the bone marrow, somehow know how to get in there and take up residence and start doing their job.
Within days, Caitlyn started showing signs of improvement.
And there's just so many different kinds of cells. It was all 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then also we got 1 and 2 and 14, and then those numbers came up and up and up.
After 6 months, Caitlyn was able to return home. And after a year, she was able to meet her bone marrow donor face to face.
It's kind of emotional, but it was a lot of fun. I hope we get to do it again.
She did. She did save my daughter's life.
Caitlyn's mom is a 2-gallon blood donor and is on the bone marrow registry. It's her way of trying to help someone the way someone helped her daughter.
From bone marrow to immunoglobulins to platelets to whole blood and there's just so many things out there that people need. And you don't know when this is going to come. I mean, we didn't plan for any of this.
Caitlyn still gets immunoglobulin transfusions every 3 weeks to balance out her B cells. But doctors say her counts are going up and there is an end in sight. I'm Nancy Gay for Florida's Blood Centers, where local heroes are saving lives.